Welcome to the Plant Centered and Thriving podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Kitchens. Welcome to the show, Plant Centered listener. My name is Ashley and I am your host today. I hope your year is off to a really great start. Today, I have with me an incredible guest who has an amazing, unique story. And out of the story came a very incredible plant-based food company, which we talk a lot about at the end of this conversation. And my mouth was watering the entire time. I could not wait to get on Brett's website and grab me some things that we'll talk about at the end of the podcast. There's one specific thing that he talked about that I was like, oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. So let me introduce you to Brett. He first learned of the efficacy of plants and nutrition when he was in a 10-year depression. And what helped pull him out of this, which he talks about, is by introducing omega-3s from fresh ground flax seeds, ground, not whole, is very important, into his daily diet. And after about 4 months, the depression resolved completely. He ends up stopping eating animals, he loses over 100 pounds. And after learning in 2017 that beef is our second largest export as a native Texan, he decided to have that be different. And he started a plant-based jerky company called All Y'all's Foods. We have links in the show notes, which we talk about throughout the podcast because he definitely shares some specifics that I wanted to make sure if you wanted to grab them real quickly, you can. We also linked his social media, and I'm just really excited for you to hear his story and also learn his perspective that he brings with his transition to a vegan way of eating. So please join me in welcoming Brett to the show. Well, welcome to the show, Brett. I am really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to
Yep,
be here, actually. I appreciate it.
absolutely. So we connected through Instagram and I did a little bit more research into you and your company, and I'm really excited for not just your story, but also to talk about kind of what transpired out of that story as well. But I would love, Brett, for you to take us back and kind of just walk us through sort of what led to this plant-based shift in your life.
It all started with two books in particular. One was the 1 Minute Cure, and the other was Medical Miracle. And when I got done reading those two books, I realized everything I'd been taught up to that point was a lie, that medicine had been stolen from the people 100 years before, and it had been replaced with allopathic care, which for trauma care is awesome, but if you want to make people well, it doesn't have a damn thing to do with that. I had dealt with depression for nearly a decade. Now, that was due to poor diet choices. I consume mostly processed fast food, meat, dairy. That's all, and Diet Coke. That was kind of my diet. He said, "Look," he said, your brain's over half fat, and if you're not feeding your brain quality fats, how do you think it can perform? How can it possibly do that? It's not like there's a magical system in the body. It takes what we put in it and does the best it can with it. So I began ingesting 2 tablespoons of fresh ground flax seeds every day in a smoothie. And in 4 months, I was off all antidepressants and have been ever since.
Wow.
So I realized, okay, there's something to this. And I attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Now, at this time, I'm still eating meat and dairy all day long, but I'm starting to learn that the most nourishing thing you can put in a body is a machine, because I never really thought of it as a machine, is raw vegan food. Period. There's no entertainment. There's not a lot of fun in that. Well, there can be if it's done well. Um, but and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I attend the Institute for Integrative Nutrition because we studied over 100 diet theories and everything. It was all just more mm, stuff. And I was like, you don't even tell people about the benefits of plants alone as a diet. I didn't quite understand that. But what was really neat is I had a study buddy, and her name is Deanna Won, Won. Now, say what you want. This woman's a physicist and a now retired colonel in the U.S. Air Force. Credibility? Yeah, I think so. She's the only person I met who was in hospice care who's alive today. Stage 4 ovarian cancer, given 4 weeks to live. 2 weeks in, the pain was so great, they're about to up her morphine. And she recalled some information her grandfather had shared with her as a child. She's of Chinese descent, about the healing properties of mushrooms. So she began a regimen mushrooms and a modified Gerson protocol. And it's, I don't know, 12, 14 years later, and she shows women how to heal their bodies of disease. I published a book, Nutritional Truths, to explain this to people. And it wasn't about, you need to do this. It was about, just know about it. And then what you do with it's your own business. You're a grown up. You can figure it out. So I published that book. I opened a raw organic vegan juice and smoothie bar because a couple ladies I know had a shop and said, "Hey, you want to do something in this?" I'm like, "Well, let's do that." And now I still eat meat and dairy. I have my own relationship when it comes to food and my issues. But I knew it was the most nourishing thing you could serve people. And so I got good with the dehydrator. That lasted about a year. Realized that there's not, small town Texas, this is not gonna beat out Jack in the Box. Just not gonna happen.
Sure.
Or Brahms. Won't happen. So shutter it. But I got really good with the dehydrator, whether I was making kale chips or energy grounds or jerky or whatever, I got good with it. And fast forward on a trip to the zoo, in an instant, I realized all because I had written about the elephant, the gorilla, and the rhino. And then finally, by the time I got to the elephants, it occurred to me in an instant, just like someone flipped a switch. All animals are present and aware and they don't want to die. We kill 100,000 every minute of every day when we absolutely don't need to at all. I turned to my wife and I said, I'm done eating meat. And that was coming up on 8 years ago now. And
Wow.
I'm happy to report that my protein levels and my calcium levels are fine.
Good.
Cholesterol is like 120. I have lost weight. I still have more to go. That's a whole other issue. But the freedom that I get from not including animals in my diet is amazing. And I don't tell you about this. And you can't know it until you experience it. The freedom that comes from knowing that what I decided to eat that day had no animal input, therefore no animals were harmed or enslaved or any of the other number of abuses you want to label. And that's a good feeling. While I'm not the healthiest man on the planet, I do like more highly processed foods. I'm working on leaning into the whole foods. The fact is I don't concern myself with thoughts of, the diseases that normally come. I mean, animal protein has been linked as the largest contributor, period, to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Okay, so if you consume it, then that's on you. And I understand because until until I saw things the way I see things, I was like, y'all are idiots. What are you talking about? You can't just eat plants. The first time I heard of Meatless Monday, I laughed out loud because I honestly I couldn't think of a meatless snack. Everything seems normal until you realize that it's really not normal.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
That,
so anyway, that's kind of how I got to where I'm at. And then after I quit eating animals, about a year in, I read that beef is our second largest export. And as a native Texan, that bothered me. And I said to myself out loud, are you going to bitch about it or are you going to change it? So I decided to change it. And that's how I came up with this jerky, y'all, and made it very Texan-y as far as the flavors representing each region, the 7 regions of Texas and using products from Texas. And, our state plant is a prickly pear. So we use the juice of the fruit from the prickly pear and stuff like that. Rowdy Girl Sanctuary, when I was starting the company, I looked around and they had the largest herd of cattle, rescue cattle. I'm like, done, because I'm doing jerky. That makes sense. So a portion from every bag we sell goes to support their efforts. And they're down in Walder, Texas, which is between San Antonio and Houston, closer to San Antonio.
that's really
Yeah.
neat. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have like a million questions for you. I'm curious because there are so many people, and I know even people listening right now who feel like they're in this transition phase, like they're feeling this pull, or maybe some data has been presented to them, or maybe they've
Hmm.
watched a documentary or read a book. What do you
Hmm.
feel like for you allowed you to take that leap almost where, the blinders kind of came off and you're like, I'm going for it, where before it was like, this is crazy.
Here's what they'll go, well, how do I eat more vegetables? I'm like, watch Earthlings. I made it 30 minutes, maybe. It didn't stop my behavior, but every time I ate animal, I thought of how it lived and I knew how it died. And it occurred to me. And so that led up to that visit to the zoo where it was finally like done. And I didn't make a decision. It was made for me. Because once your heart's opened up and you're like, what the hell am I doing? And I think that's where a lot of people get angry because they look at what they've supported.
Mm,
From one industry to the next, there's lots of reasons not to support it from a compassionate standpoint.
yeah.
And why not choose compassion?
Right. Yeah. Why not? I mean, truly.
So it was a process, and sometimes for people it's all boom at once, and the other people it's a trickle, and it doesn't matter. There's no right and wrong. It's just start walking towards the plants. That's where the win's at. First generation proteins for the win.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Go to the source. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because meat's a hand-me-down protein. Who wants a hand-me-down protein?
Yep. Amen to that. And it sounds like kind of what you're saying too is like making that deeper connection with what it is that's on your plate and what you're putting into your body.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it was that I've always had a disconnect with me and my body. That's the only way you can gain the weight, kind of weight I did, and not go, what the is going on? The fact is my processed, plant-based, whatever, healthier than your meat-based? Oh yeah, every bit. And people talk about processed. I'm like, have you worked a kill room floor?
Oh, yeah.
That's a process. That's brutal. Let's see, you're doing cows, you're going to kill about 100 an hour. How's that going to impact you?
Yeah.
What what kind of experience are you going to have as a person who does that for a living? And I no longer support that. So and people don't have to.
Yeah.
It's a choice. We can choose otherwise. The thing is for me, I like the media experience. And that's why, I've been talking about meat is just a vehicle for plants. If you think about any sandwich or seafood or chop or anything that you like to eat that's meat, it is always influenced by plants, smoke, char, or salt. And so people like myself are like, well, hey, let's just make the meat vehicle from plants. And so here's, like it's Jerky, all these dozens or hundreds or thousands of other companies, they're doing the same thing. And
Yep.
they're like, here's the vehicle, but we didn't involve animals. And and it feels good to eat it. Try it.
Exactly. Yes. I could not agree more. Well, I would love for you to also take us back to when this transition started for you. You were battling depression, kind of at a real low point, it sounded like in your life. And then all of a sudden there's sort of this connection that maybe the fats that I'm eating, the foods that I'm eating aren't supporting my brain health or my mental health. I mean, what was that
Hmm.
kind of learning that information and switch for you? What was that like?
Well, he said, look, he goes, you see a lot of people with problems, mental problems, health problems today. And I'm like, yeah, that's more popular than ever, apparently. And he said, again, it's because of diet. But this what I did, introducing plant-based omega-3s to my brain over a period of time. That's the thing about holistic actions is they take time. Natural, it's not like an aspirin that's going to cut off the pain immediately. It doesn't work that way. It takes time.
And I like that you use the analogy of like almost looking at our body as like a machine. And we
Hmm.
want to put the best quality things in a machine as important and valuable as ourselves.
Sure, but there's some of us who like the entertainment value more than others.
Yes.
Because if I could sit and I could eat a bowl of gruel 3 times a day and be completely healthy and satisfied, I do it. I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Whereas other people are like, this doesn't mean as much to me. And then there's us towards the other end and everyone in between.
Yep.
The fact is our mouth, when it comes to the meat or the flesh of the animal, our mouth becomes familiar with the resistance and the chewing experience. So that's why we work to replicate. Like you'll find like Impossible or Beyond, they're mashed ground meat. I mean, it beautifully. I think they both do great. The thing is then you have like Prager's and others who use whole vegetables and stuff. So they're doing a like product, but they're not doing a mimic product. So you have to realize that there's a difference in that. And the thing is they talk about the Impossible or Beyond being more of a transitional item, which it can be, but at the same time, I think on any kind of regular basis, it still trumps ground beef because here's another upside of of first generation protein. I don't run into bits of bone. I don't run into bits of connective tissue or a hair. And I know you can't buy meat without fecal matter in it.
Yep.
Plant-based proteins, no, none in sight.
No, no, thank goodness. No bones, no connective tissue, and no feces. Yes.
I mean, what's not to like?
Right, right.
Again, I get that it's not the norm, but from a rocks or hard waters wet perspective, it just makes the most sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I mean, really, like those types of foods kind of just eliminate the need for meat because it's like it's all right there. It's the texture, the flavor. I mean, it's pretty on point and it's only going to get better from here, which is really exciting to see the plant-based, just different foods and alternatives grow.
Especially with the mycelium. You know,
Yes.
they can create vats of it in 24 hours. I'm like, seriously? So, I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of opportunity to make a lot of really nourishing foods that behave like the flesh of animals, but don't involve the animals. Which I mean, like, who wants to fight that?
I know. I agree. I completely agree. Yep. You had said something about meat being the second largest export in the US.
Beef.
Beef.
We're the largest exporter in America. Texas is.
That is wild to me.
But check this out. So Texas has the 10th largest economy in the world. Our economy in our state is bigger than all of Canada, all of South Korea.
Wow.
Not as
I didn't.
big as Brazil. 20% of all exports come out of Texas. So we're the largest exporter in America. We're the largest petrochemical producer. Houston, part of that, in America. But here, check it out. We're also the largest wind energy producer. 30% of all wind energy we produce here in Texas. And we put in the infrastructure to throw that power around the state. How
Wow.
smart are
Wow.
we? So, and then or I'm sorry, solar energy. Number one is still California. That's about to change. We're going to take it. We're number two.
My
Okay,
goodness.
so we're like, and this leads up to this balance. So you got the petrochemicals, but you also have the wind and the solar. Well, we got the beef, so I've committed to us becoming the largest plant-based protein producer in America as well, because it only makes sense.
Right.
The beef's going to do what beef's going to do over time. Okay, all I'm worried about is how do we nourish the people better and out of Texas.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I think that's such a great goal. I mean, it's bound to happen. I mean, that is so exciting.
yes, yeah, it's nice.
I was looking on your website and some
Yeah.
of those flavors that you had, like the prickly pear that you mentioned. I mean, I just thought that
Uh,
was so innovative because I haven't seen that with any other plant-based jerky. So,
ex when I got into the space, there were three other companies making plant-based jerky, and now there's 30, if not more, and others have come and gone.
yeah.
So when I tried them, there were things I liked and things I didn't, and I knew I could do it better. And so I started doing jerky my way, and people were receptive to it. And I wanted to have unique, bold flavors. There are people that do a lot of hot, spicy. We don't. Our like black pepper has no added sugar. So, 2 grams of sugar for 22 bags or 22 grams of protein in a bag and no sugar added. And our sodium's lower than almost everyone else. But that was not intentional. It's just how it turned out. So,
Yeah.
so we got the black pepper, which for me, I grew up hunting and fishing and eating lots of jerky, and usually it was black pepper or teriyaki with a very different teriyaki flavor that you had to park in your mouth and let soak so you could chew it because it was so hard. And then the prickly pear being the state plant, I found we can use the juice of the fruit. It's a beautiful magenta color, and it's got a really nice flavor. So we did a teriyaki that way and a chipotle that way. And then I knew I wanted to do something for the pigs because I ate pork more than beef. And so I worked for well over a year on its big crunchy bacony bits, y'all. So unlike the little fake bits that have been around for decades, ours are made from whole non-GMO soybeans. Again, 22 bags of protein in a bag of bacony bits, and it tastes like well-cooked bacon. And when I launched those, they hit #1 on Amazon for meatless bacon within 6 months. And this wasn't through like big ad spend or something. It's me.
Yeah.
And so it continues to be #1 meatless bacon on Amazon today.
Wow.
Because it's just that good of a product. And so I did that. And then we just came out with and are going to make available, I think, later this week, a cinnamon churro
I saw
flavor.
that.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. We sent some out to some friends and they shared about it. And real excited for that. Because again, the flavor, who else is doing cinnamon churro? What? Jerky? That's so
Right?
weird. It is. But it's good, I promise. In fact, I diced some up and made pancakes with it yesterday.
Ooh,
Um, you just put it on the griddle and then pour the pancake batter on it.
yes.
And you got these nuggets of cinnamon goodness. Anyway, so yeah, we just keep continuing to come out. We're coming out with other flavors again this year. This is our year for flavors, and
Awesome.
we're excited about each one of them because they, again, all mean something in Texas, and we're certain that they'll be a hit with people.
Yeah, I think that's really fantastic to kind of pull from the state that you were born in and are currently living in. I just think that's wonderful.
Have you seen that video that we did? Damn, it feels good to be a vegan.
No, where is that?
So so it's on YouTube.
Okay.
And you remember? I don't remember. I don't know if you if you saw the movie Office Space.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Well, I rewrote that song and then shot it with some friends of mine.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're
And
going to link that
it
in the show
lives.
notes.
Okay, please do.
Everyone
And
needs
and
to
it's
watch this.
because again, it's like, what can I say or what can I do to have people get it? Because once people get it, I don't know anyone who went, well, I could have waited longer to get here. I've never heard that. I've never
Mm-mm.
heard anyone go, yeah, I should have kept just eating those brontosaurus burgers forever because it just it doesn't happen. Usually it's like, why wasn't I here? Why didn't I get here sooner?
Yep. Yep. I feel like
Why didn't
if
y'all
there's
tell me?
one thing that all vegan people have in common is that I wish I would have done this sooner. Brett, you had also mentioned, you kind of gave us a preview of like some of the health benefits that you had gained from going vegan. And I wouldn't mind if you
Yeah.
would love to, you'd mentioned like the shift in your mental health coming out of your
Oh, yeah.
depression.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that, and then I've dropped over 100 pounds, and I continue to deal with my relationship with food, and my relationship with walking has now taken flight. I'm like, oh,
oh,
look, you can do something as simple as walk. Great.
yes.
Again, old stuff. Um,
Well, what
but
has that looked like for you? Because I think a lot of times walking is just underestimated. I mean, there's so many benefits from walking.
it's to me, it's annoying, being honest. That's where I'm at with it. But the fact is this body, I know needs it.
Mm.
It needs, especially as we age, we need to get a little stronger, a little fitter. Because I'll go into the Denver airport and you get off at the gate and you look and you're like, oh, I'm at the end. Oh, it's waiting. And every time I've gone, I'm like, dude, you should be walking
Mm.
because it's a long trek. And so now I am. So that feels good.
Or there's a sign that's just down the road here where I live that talks about health being the first wealth, that really famous saying.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's something that if we could just think about what that actually means over and over again, it would have more of an impact on these food choices that we're making every single day. Because, like you were saying, it's not necessarily diseases that run in families, it's diet and lifestyle. And we have so much control for the most part over that.
Hmm. But the problem is that people, they probably don't want to know.
Mm,
I don't want to be responsible for
yeah.
every choice I make.
Yeah, right. No.
But and then there are others who, I think once they learn that, they go, what? And they, definitely would make a shift, I would think. Then the rest of us are like, ah, nom, 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 nom.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I know people listening to this show right now have made the shift. I mean, you and I have made the shift. It's kind of like we almost had these like two paths in front of us to an extent,
Huh?
and we chose one. I mean, we had to make that choice.
Every day.
So what? was really cool is that all y'all's foods came out of this journey that's been going on for quite a while, the past decade or so with you, Brett. I mean, what's it been like to start this plant-based jerky company and feed us this good
Well,
protein?
most states have a cottage law, which allows you to produce at home and then go and sell it at the farmer's market or the community market or whatever your thing is where you live. You just can't leave it on a store on a shelf with a UPC code because it's not covered. But if you're selling it live, you can do that. So that's a way to prove out your product. And so I always recommend that people do that. And then I decided early on that I was going to work with a production partner, which has its pluses and minuses rather than having my own staff, my own business, my own building, my own all the equipment, everything else, because that's the only way I could really do it, from a cost perspective. But you have to find ones that, because minimums usually are what get people, because, the minimums, we're producing usually in a day around 5,000 bags
Wow.
a day. And so you always want to get those numbers right because you want to get it sold and have people have plenty of time to enjoy it. So it's just a series of lessons, but it's one of those fall down 6 times, stand up 7. You have to be willing to pivot. We pivoted this year finally to focusing on our direct to consumer business, which we haven't done before. And that's where our win is our customers, because people who are our customers care about what we're up to. And they, one of the things that we push is the fact that it's not just a grab and go snack, it's also a protein replacement. And I don't know if this will show up,
Yep.
but we've got a cookbook coming out and there's 40 recipes. Uh, 40 recipes, just amazing. Worked with a
Yes.
chef down in Austin, Hannah, to put that together. Again, to show people how to use it. I grew up in the antiques business, and I remember a lard company had a book on uses, how to use their lard. Yeah, from
Wow.
packing bearings and gashes and wounds to cooking. I knew there was a need for a cookbook around our
Yeah.
product. It's just a matter of understand, first of all, the numbers. You have to know the numbers because either you can make money or you can't. It's that simple. So you see on Shark Tank, they're like, know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you have no business being in business because you won't stay in business.
Yep.
So it's just about knowing the business. And for me, it's what I call the path of least resistance, because there are a lot of places we could be in today, but it would cost so much, it doesn't make sense today,
Yeah.
as far as retailers. So things when you're on the just the consumer side, things aren't always as they seem. It's a lot harder to make money in retail than you'd think. Here's the thing. If you make a widget for $1 and you can sell it for $10, you're fine. But here's the problem. I know that using olive oil is a ton better than using canola oil, but canola oil would cost me a third of the
Wow.
price, but I don't do it
Yeah.
because of the margin. So if we can double our money, that's great. Let's work off of that. And so that's part of the problem is that I feel responsible for nourishing people and doing that right, even though I could make more margins and use chemicals and crap. That's why, we use some of the best ingredients you can get. Because again, it's about nourishing people. So we continue to work to increase those margins, still using quality products, and then just drive sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's a matter of, we did a HEB. I don't think you're familiar with HEB, but in Texas, it's a big deal. We got 350 stores here in the US. We're in 150 of their stores. They do a Quest for Texas Best contest every year where if you're a food producer, you can enter. So I entered in 2019. I was one of the 20 finalists, which is the win. That means they want you in the store because they believe they can sell you. But we competed for cash and I came in 6th overall, but 840 people entered that year.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, so I feel good about this. They're like, yeah, I feel real good about it. So
Yes.
we're in those stores, and they're just about to do a reset. They're bringing one of our flavors back in. I'm glad to see. So again, and we're working on getting into a couple other big players again, if it makes sense.
Right.
Um, so we just, continue to to seek direction from the universe and just do the next right thing.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's beautiful. Well, so speaking of sales, where can people buy all y'all's
Our
foods?
website is your best bet. That's allyallsfoods.com. And we're also on all social for the most part. So you can find us, Instagram is probably our most popular. We actually had a video go viral-ish.
And we'll include some of those links in the show notes. So for you listening, if you want to go grab some jerky or my goodness, that bacon, the bacon bits, I'm definitely I got my eye on those. Or the
Yeah.
churros, because by the time this airs, the churro flavor will be
Huh?
out too. So that's really
Yep.
exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to get some your way too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Brett, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and making your mouths water talking about your plant-based jerky as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to visit.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in today, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Until next time, keep thriving.